Welcome back to Caffeine Confessionals. My name is Alan Aguirre, and today is a big day because we are here to talk about the Challenge Season 40, a historic season, and it is Departure Day. We have a cast list full of names, thanks to the spoiler team at Vevmo.com. Thank you to Pink Rose, thank you to Gamer, and thank you to everyone who collects spoilers so that we know who's going to be on this season. And let me tell you, this cast list looks awesome. We have people who are going to be on season 40 who have not been on the MTV version of the show in over a decade. We have some historic champions, some elite competitors, some of the best, great rivalries, some up and comers. It's a cast to really get excited about, and we're going to go through each person one by one, give some tidbits of information, and we're going to jump into it right now. Once again, thank you to Pink Rose and Gamer and the spoiler team at Vevmo.com. If you want to keep up with spoilers all season, go to Vevmo.com. They're going to be filming this season in Vietnam. TJ Lavin is set to host his 30th season of MTV's The Challenge, so it's a historic season for TJ as well. Now, it's important to note that apparently the theme for this season is that it is an eras-based cast, which means we're going to get a group of people who are from seasons 1 to 10 of the show, or who debuted during seasons 1 to 10 of the show, a group of people who debuted from seasons 11 to 19, a group of people who debuted from seasons 20 to 29, a group of people who debuted from 30 to 39, and so on and so forth. I think it's a really cool way to format a season. I mean, it pays homage to the history of this show, and we get a very, diverse cast in terms of age and generations. I think it's a lot of fun. Jumping right into the cast, though, our first cast member is Anissa from The Real World Chicago. I think Anissa has the record for most appearances by a female cast member. She has the record for most elimination losses by a competitor for sure. Anissa finally made a final on Ride or Dies. It was her first final appearance on the MTV show in over a decade. She also appeared on All Stars 1. Look, at this point, Anissa's storyline is tired. She wants to make it final and prove herself to people, but then she doesn't really actually want to run the final itself. If you like Anissa, good for you. I'm tired of her storylines at this point. Someone I am happy to see, though, is Brad Fiorenza. The last time Brad was on the MTV version of the show was season 32 Final Reckoning when he was paired with Kyle. However, we have seen Brad very recently. His last two appearances that we've seen on camera were All Stars 3 and as a mercenary on Battle for a New Champion. On All Stars 3, Brad was Bionic Brad. He looked to be in the best shape of his life and absolutely dominated the competition, where he was winning almost every single daily challenge, looked to be one of the top competitors in a house of champions, came in second place overall, and it was a very impressive season by Brad. But then he came on Battle for a New Champion as a mercenary, and he looked to be in rough shape. And I hate to say it, but he got absolutely dominated by Kellan in a very physical, endurance-based elimination. It was a rough sight to see, and if that version of Brad is the competitor we get on this season, then I don't like his chances of winning at all. If we get Bionic Brad, then he's a real threat. All I know is that I hope that Brad is in a good, safe space these days because he's a good guy, he's a good competitor, and I'm glad to see Brad because he's just a cool dude. Next up, we got Christopher CT Tamburello, fresh off winning the Traders. CT's won his last two seasons of the challenge, Spies, Lies, and Allies, and Double Agents. I mean, he completely coasted that victory on Spies, Lies, and Allies with ease. He could become the fifth player in challenge history to win 3 consecutive seasons if he pulls off the win this time around. CT is not in as good of a shape he was during Spies, Lies, and Allies, but he is in significantly better shape than he was during Total Madness and War of the Worlds 2, so I don't really know what to expect. I mean, actually, I do know what to expect. CT is a beast. He's good at puzzles. He's good at eating. He's good at anything physical, strength-wise. People are terrified of him. But I will say, there is an interesting wrinkle to this season where there's a lot of OGs who have not competed with CT on All-Stars, so I don't know whether they have the same relationship with him that some of the newer cast members do, because a lot of the newer cast members just have a lot of respect for CT and won't even consider throwing him into elimination, whereas some of the OG cast members know how much of a threat he is and might try to take him out. Ooh, another OG. We got Drell Taylor. Really good social game, has a lot of connections. He's appeared on Ride or Dies, most recently for the MTV show. Not a great showing by him and Veronica on that season. He also appeared on all 3 All-Star seasons, where he made 2 finals, came in second place in 2 of them. then got beat by Jordan in All Stars 3. The last time Drell made a final during an MTV season was Fresh Meat 1, where he won. It's tough because everyone respects Drell. They know you don't want to face him in a pole wrestle. They know you don't want to face him in any headbanger type competition. At the same time, Drell is very beatable. If it comes down to a balance competition or something swimming or a carnival game, Drell can get beaten pretty quickly and pretty easily. But I love Drell. He has funny confessionals. He's a good dude. He's always trying to win money for his family. Respect to the guy. Next up, we got another multi-time champ. We have three-time champion Derek Kosinski. The last time Derek was on an MTV season as an official competitor was Dirty 30. He came in second place behind Jordan. Then he was on Vendettas as a mercenary where he beat Josh. And if Derek had retired there, then he probably would have had, I think, one of the greatest endings to a challenge career. But then he came back for All-Stars, and he got purged in a final really early on All-Stars 1. Then he got blindsided by Casey Cooper and hand model Steve making All-Stars 2. And then he got destroyed in a pole wrestle by Nehemiah in All-Stars 3. Nobody on this cast needs a good season more than Derek right now, because for his reputation, it's on the decline after he was so high on the incline. So if he wants respect again as a competitor, Derek needs to make the final this season and actually place really well. Which I could see happening because Derek is a super nice guy and he's got a great social game and he's a great athlete and he's still a beast. But the last few seasons for him have been rough, and I just gotta be transparent about that. I love Derek. He's part of my career today is like based in part because of Derek. He's such a kind human, but the last few seasons have been rough. Ooh, I'm really happy to see this person on the show. Jody Weatherton from the Road Rules Extreme. Jody was the first ever solo female winner in challenge history after winning the Duel 1, a season where she won more than half the daily challenges or more than half the immunities, and then crushed the final. I think Jody is one of the best athletes the show has ever seen when it comes to running, swimming, strength, just natural, just athleticism and like movement. Like Jody is a absolute boss. At the same time, Jody is not great when it comes to puzzles. She's not great when it comes to anything mental. She gets nervous under pressure. Her social and political game is very messy. And it's what makes Jody a great reality TV character, is because you know she's a beast, but she's beatable in certain ways. So she's not a perfect player. And she's really easy to root for, and she's really easy to root against at the same time. I love Jody. I thought her appearances on All Stars 2 and World Championships were really fun. I'm glad to see her back. And also, like, last time we saw her on MTV was her Duel 1 win. It's been 18 years since then. I'm happy to see Jody. Put her on any season you want. Following Jody, we have a real shot casting, and that is Katie Coolie from Road Rules to Quest, technically a challenge champion. Katie last did an MTV season on season 20 Cutthroat. She came back for All Stars 1 and 2. I really never thought we'd see Katie sign up for a full MTV season again. She doesn't like heights. She doesn't really like competing on the show at all. But she just signs up for it every time, and she yells at someone, and she's a great reality TV character. Really, we have not seen Katie give like 110% on the show since the Inferno season that she won. I like Katie though. I think she's hilarious. I think she's hysterical. I'm just stunned. I'm just stunned she said yes, if anything. Someone I'm not surprised to see, though, is Mark Long. And technically, the last time we saw Mark Long on an MTV season was Battle of the X's 1 all the way back in 2011, 2012. He came in fourth place on that season, bowed out before the final, had a wink-wink handshake deal with Johnny Bananas. Mark is a phenomenal competitor. We've seen him on All-Stars 1 and 3 make it to the final of each. He is someone who's really tough to get out before the final because he has so many friends in the house. Everyone loves the Godfather. And also, he's a 6'4", 225-pound like brick of like steel muscle. The guy is a ferocious competitor. He really loves doing this show. But I don't really think it's weird because he's not really like a big final threat, but he's a big threat to always make it to the final. People love Mark Long. Like, enough said. Like, OG fans love Mark Long so much. He's the Hulk Hogan for OG fans. I know a lot of modern wrestling fans don't like Hulk Hogan, but like for Mark Long holds a similar space with OG fans. Next up, we got Rachel Robinson from Road Rules Campus Crawl. Not as surprising as it would have been if we didn't know that she was coming back for All Stars 4. But regardless, we're talking about Rachel Robinson, who was the second solo female winner in challenge history. She won the duel too. She dominated the daily challenges on that season. She's part of the infamous Mean Girls trio with Veronica and Tina. Two-time champion. Even though it's been years since she's been on the show, X's One was her last MTV appearance. Rachel is in the best shape of her life. She works as a personal trainer, and she stays in contact with so many cast members on this show through her challenge workout program. Because of that, Rachel has a lot of friendships. I don't expect her to get tossed into elimination very easily. Rachel's a big threat to win. I mean, like, a very big sleeper threat to win. Actually, not even a sleeper. Rachel, on any season, massive threat. I do wonder what her puzzle skills are going to be like, but yeah, excited to see Rachel. And back with her is her good friend Tina from Road Rules South Pacific. Tina last appeared on an MTV season all the way back on the Duel 1 as a full-time competitor. That's when she punched Beth. But she also appeared on Cutthroat as a mercenary, where she lost to Teresa and Tori. We've seen her on All Stars 2, 3, and now 4. She hasn't really had a long run into any of those seasons. One of those seasons she quit. The other season she got out via injury. But Tina is a hysterical personality. Great confessionals. I'm always glad to have Tina on my TV screen because she's just so entertaining. Now we move into Generation 2, and one of the big shocks is Avi Melmed. Aviv only competed on one season of the challenge ever, Fresh Meat 1, where she won the first pair season alongside Drell. She didn't get much of an edit on that season. If anything, Aviv is one of the more wallpaper winners in challenge history. But I do want to give credit on her name because Aviv is one of the best puzzle competitors the show has ever seen. I mean, there isn't a large sample size, but every time she had a puzzle on Fresh Meat 1, she dominated it. She killed it during her exile with Darrell, and during the final against Kenny and Tina and Wes and Casey, her ability to solve the puzzles during the final gave her and Darrell less weight to carry, and it's why they won the final itself. I've seen her recently, and she still looks phenomenal. This is the type of competitor you want to get a second shot on a historic season like season 40. A person who was one and done, but is a champion. She's, in many ways, Aviv is the rookie on this cast, but she also holds a title that so many people want. Next up, we got a Fresh Meat 2 guy, and that is Brandon Nelson. Everyone loves Brandon from Cutthroat, where he won a bunch of eliminations in a row. He worked his ass off in the gulag, but Brandon just always seems to get the short end of the stick on every season he does. A lot of it is he's a very low-key personality where he's not going to be part of the big alliances and the popular crowd, but he's just a good dude. We're going to see him on All Stars 4, and hey, based on the photos of All Stars 4, Brandon looks like he's in good shape. I don't think he's a big threat to win, but he's a nice guy, and I would love to see him win a couple eliminations again. Big name, big name. Cara Maria Sorbello. First time back on the MTV show since War of the Worlds 2. Cara has gone to the final 5 times in a row. In her MTV seasons, at least. I don't know what's going to happen on All Stars 4, but she went to the final on Dirty 30, Vendettas, Final Reckoning, War of the Worlds 1, and War of the Worlds 2, and importantly, won Vendettas. She's a 2-time champion, has the record for most final appearances by a female competitor, the record for most elimination appearances, and Cara is the female face of the show. Like, when you know Cara's going to be on the season, she takes up the most attention, and it's interesting because she has so many storylines with people who are going to be on this cast, and I'm about to announce. Like, what's her relationship with Giant Bananas like? Because they went from enemies to friends to enemies, and I don't know where they're at now. Paulie's going to be on this season. So what's going on with her and Paulie? Her and Laurel seemingly are friends again. Her and Tori hate each other. What's going on between her and Amanda? Cara has so much stuff going on. She's an icon. She's a legend. And the show needs Cara Maria because when she was gone, there was a bit of a void there. She's a top competitor. She's going to be going head-to-head with some of these people. She's a big threat to win. She's a big character. Look, I can go on and on and on. Cara's awesome. I'm glad to see her back on the MTV show finally. After Cara, we have Derek Chavez from the Real World Cancun. He appeared on Challenge All-Stars 2 and is set to film Challenge All-Stars 4. I think Derek is a very likable guy. He has a lot of friends on this cast. He always gives 110%. Do I think he's a big threat to win? No, but I like Derek. I don't really have much to say about him because he's just a good dude. He tries his best. There's nothing I can say about that. Ooh, a big surprise and return is Emily Scrum from the Real World DC. The last time we saw her on an MTV flagship season was Rivals 2, where she won alongside Paula. In her three MTV seasons, Emily, I believe, is like 5-0 in eliminations, been to all three finals, is physically one of the most impressive, like physical, like specimens we've ever seen as a competitor. She devotes her entire life to fitness. We also saw her appear on Champs vs. Stars 2, where she won alongside Johnny Bananas and CT. Emily's really good. Emily is like undeniably like a really good competitor. I just don't really care for her as a personality. I think she's just, I don't know. It's tough because like if you think Emily's the best competitor in challenge history, I'm not even going to argue with you, but she just lacks a reality TV character persona. I would love to see her go head to head with Cara these days because they had, like a bit of an, a bit of a rivalry back in the day, or not even rivalry, but like Emily was very dismissive to Cara, and now Kara's just become one of the biggest faces and figures in show history. We've also never seen Emily go toe to toe with Laurel, who's set to be on this season. I don't know. Emily's a beast. If she wins this season, I wouldn't be shocked because, yeah, she devotes her entire life to this type of stuff. But yeah, next up, we got Giant Bananas coming off being the first boot on the Traders, coming off losing USA 2. Right, I'm kidding. Giant Bananas is a seven-time champion. He's always a threat to win. He's made it to the final of his last two challenge seasons with USA 2 and Ride or Dies. But I will say it's been the first time we've ever seen him lose finals, which for the longest time ever, the thought was that if Johnny Bananas gets to a final, he wins. I don't necessarily know if that's true anymore. Still, Bananas at his worst is still a very good challenge competitor. If it's going to be season 40, you need Giant Bananas on the show. He's one of the biggest faces in show history, if not the face of the challenge. Loved his next casting. Kellyanne Judd, one of, if not the greatest female competitor in challenge history to never win a championship, technically came in first place alongside John A. among women on All Stars 1. Kellyanne has been on 4 MTV seasons. The last time we saw her on an MTV show was Rivals 3 back in like 2016. Kellyanne is chaotic, but she's super fit. It's just, she's a good competitor. She sometimes will just mess up on certain things when she panics or isn't good with a puzzle, but Kellyanne is willing to eat gross food. She's willing to do whatever it takes to win. She's scrappy. She makes for good TV. I love Kellyanne. Like flat, plain and simple. I think she's one of the best to ever be on this show. And also, I want to say this: Kellyanne has never been on a great MTV season. She did The Island, which was historically terrible, and then she did Bloodlines and Rivals 3, which were two seasons that at the time were very like lowly rated coming off of Free Agents and X's 2. So I just hope that Kellyanne gets to be on a very good MTV season. We recently saw her on Challenge World Championships where she performed really well amongst a group of high level competitors. And I mentioned her already, but Laurel is on this season. Interesting to note, Laurel basically, when she was at her peak as a challenge competitor, she didn't even really train or work out that much for the show. In the last 9 months, Laurel has gotten into the best shape of her life, which is a very scary thought to think because Laurel is just one of the great competitors the show's ever seen. She's set to be on All Stars 4. There's going to be a lot of drama between her and Nicole. Apparently, her and Cara Maria are friends again. I don't know if that means that her and Paulie are friends now or what's going to happen with the dynamic of all of them there together. Laurel is friends with Tori. Laurel is friends with Johnny Bananas. Laurel is friends with modern competitors like Horacio. She doesn't really have a lot of enemies, which is very good because she's a big threat to win physically. But will people target her? I don't know. Will Tori turn on her knowing that how big of a threat that Laurel is? Laurel's going to have some interesting dynamics. I'll be honest. I'm rooting for a Laurel win because I think she's the most dominant competitor the show has ever seen. And I think her and Evelyn are the two greatest female competitors the show's ever seen. She's a great personality. She's great personality wise when it comes to drama. I don't know. I love Laurel, and I would love to see her flourish on this show. Again, season 40, big season. You need someone like Laurel, and someone I'm really happy to see actually from the Real World Austin, Nehemiah Clark. This is Nehemiah's first MTV season since Rivals 1, where Evan basically, I mean, kind of threw the season. Nehemiah appeared on All Stars 1, 2, and 3, where he was, to me, like the MVP of the male MVP of the All Stars franchise so far. On that first season, he won eliminations, he won daily challenges. Second season, goes to that final in Melinda, and they won day one of that final, which was like 95% of it. They won part one, that was 95% of the final, and then they got really no. They weren't properly accommodated for day two. Like that was all raced, even though they beat Johnny and MJ by probably over an hour on part one. And then season three, he makes another final, destroys Derek in a pole wrestle. Nehemiah, he had the King's Palace Alliance. He's done everything you want from a cast member to like earn a spot back on the flagship program. He's still young. He's a fun guy. He's willing to speak his mind. He's willing to be a big character. He could be a side character as well. I like Nehemiah a lot. It's been really cool to see him flourish on All Stars. Really happy to see him on this season. Next up is Ryan Kehoe, and I'm not happy to see Ryan. I'll be honest, I think Ryan is a dud of a cast member. I think he always makes really scared game moves. He floats. He never makes a move to further his game. He just wants to stay as long as possible without actually thinking about what he can do to win. He's not good with puzzles. He's not a strong physical competitor. And I don't really think he's that funny of a personality. He's got a decent social game, but look, I don't like Ryan. If you like Ryan, good for you. I couldn't care less about Ryan. Actually, I do care a decent amount. I actively don't like him on the show because I think he hurts other people's game and I think he hurts the show. Let's move into the Generation 3 cast, and kicking us off, we got Amanda Garcia from Are You the One Season 3. Amanda is the firecracker, the quick fix to the challenge when it needs a little bit more drama. On Spies, Lies, and Allies, when that season got boring, Amanda brought it. On USA 2, when they needed a little bit of oomph to the cast, Amanda in her 3 to 4 episodes brought it. Like she's like adding 2 shots of tequila into any drink. Like it's gonna leave you a little bit dizzy, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be entertaining. Is she a threat to win? Probably not. Actually, I'm gonna say no. With this cast, Amanda is definitely not a threat to win, but she's great television. How she mixes it up with certain people will be fascinating. She's got a lifelong rivalry with Tori going on. I don't know what's going on between her and Cara these days, as it seems like Cara likes Amanda because she goes after Tori so much. She's got a rivalry going on with Michelle Fitzgerald. A lot of people don't like her. A lot of people do like her. It's all over the place for Amanda. Next up, we got Avery Trester from The Real World Portland. Look, fans like myself were clamoring for Avery to return for years. We last saw her on Rivals 3, where she was Leroy's partner, but Leroy was injured, so she was out after episode 2. She was on X's 2 with Johnny Riley. They won a couple eliminations, showed a lot of potential, and then wasn't on the show for, literally a decade. Then she came back for All Stars 4 recently. Seems to be in a relationship with Adam Larson, a true challenge OG, and now she's filming this season. I wished for days like this. I wanted Avery to be a staple of the show over a decade ago, and I'm happy that we're finally living in a world where Avery's getting her shot. And it's funny, like seeing the first 2 people of this generation of the show be Avery and Amanda, 2 people who like have never really associated with one another on TV in any way. Yes, they were both on Rivals 3, but they weren't even in the house at the same time. Next up, we got Corey Warden from The Real World Explosion. Corey's made the final in 3 of his last 4 seasons. He's one of the greatest male competitors to never win. He's one of the modern faces of the challenge, whether you want to believe that or not. They've had his face on the Times Square billboard all the way back to Vendettas. He's always been heavily promoted. He's on Teen Mom. He's a former collegiate athlete. Just doesn't have the mental game to kill the puzzles required to win a final, but he's gotten very close. He's come in second place on multiple seasons now. Is this going to be the one for Corey? I don't think so, but when you think about people who define the show, for that 20s generation, Corey is one of those people who was so important to the direction the show went in. So I'm happy to see Corey. I'm glad he's on here. Next up, we got Devin, also from Are You the One Season 3. Last time we saw Devin as a competitor was Ride or Dies, where he won his first challenge championship. He made the final of his last 2 seasons. He controlled the game politically on Spies, Lies, and Allies alongside CT. Didn't really do well in the final, then came back a lot better. Every season Devin does, he's a much better player. He was a mercenary on season 39, won that elimination against Kellan. He's good at puzzles. He's doing a lot of pre-gaming. Devin is actually a threat to win, and you might not think that because there's a lot of very strong male competitors, but Devin knows that finals come down to running and puzzles, and those are 2 things that he's been working a lot on. And other than that, though, he plays a good social game, and if he can avoid eliminations, Devin has a good shot to win. Also, if he ends up in elimination, production will probably just give him another puzzle. Sorry, just had to say it. Next up, ooh, wow. Johnny Manion, who made her debut on Rivals 1, originally from the Real World Cancun. First place female on 3 straight seasons, only female competitor to ever do that. All Stars 1, All Stars 2, All Stars 3. Won All Stars 2 and All Stars 3 outright. Johnny is, I mean, nobody's had a bigger glow up in the last few years than Johnny. She's actually never been to a final of an MTV season, technically. The last time we saw her compete on one was X's 2 back in 2015 or so. I love John A. I mean, she's one of my favorite competitors all time. She's figured out this game socially and politically. She's gotten really good at puzzles. She's gotten in much better shape as these seasons have gone on. She's committed her life to the show, and I would love to see John A take home an MTV title officially. If so, I think we begin talking about her as a top 5 competitor all time. I think right now she's in the top 10. I really like John A. I'm glad to see her back on the flagship program. We saw her on World Championships. We saw her on the CBS show. It's it's just good to have John A back in our lives. Coming out of retirement, I mean, he was out of retirement for All Stars 4, but he announced his retirement from the MTV show after Double Agents. Leroy Garrett, probably the best male competitor in challenge history to never win. He's been to 5 finals. He's won 4 eliminations in a season. He's beaten Johnny Bananas. He's beaten Wes in multiple like headbanger eliminations. The last time we saw Leroy was Double Agents, where he came in 3rd place, but had his best season ever when it came to daily challenges. He showed massive improvements when it came to puzzles, swimming, and also he just had his 2nd baby recently, so the guy is very invested to win. Like he had his kid like 2 weeks ago. The guy is going to be hungry to win some money for his family. I love Leroy. He's a likable guy. It is funny that he came back from his retirement, but look, I'm not mad. He's got a family. He's a great competitor. He's a great personality. Love Leroy. And when you talk about people who defined the 20s seasons, Leroy is one of them. Next up, we got Nia Moore from the Real World Portland. She made her big return after her challenge ban on All Stars 3, where she made the final. I do want to note, though, even though she came in 3rd place and made the final, like Nia was really not impressive. She didn't come in top 3 in a single daily challenge the entire season, even when they were down to only 4 or 5 female competitors. Nia's not good at dailies. She's not in quite the shape she used to be, and she's not bringing the drama she used to. So I'm not super excited about the Nia casting. However, if we ever do get Hurricane Nia back, sign me up, because she was one of the most engaging reality TV characters we've ever seen, even if she was problematic. But also, like, Nia is a 6 foot tall woman, so she is a threat in any physical elimination, especially if it's a headbanger. Don't sleep on Nia, but I don't think she's a big threat to win, but she's a big threat to beat anyone in elimination. Next up, we got Tony Raines from the Real World Skeletons. It's Tony time. The last time we saw him compete on an MTV season was Final Reckoning, where him and Bananas came up short of the final. He's set to film All Stars 4. Again, this comes down to what version of Tony are we getting? Are we getting the chaotic Tony from back in the day? Because that was one of the most entertaining reality TV characters I think we've ever had on this show. But he wasn't a great competitor. The version of Tony we saw on Vendettas and Final Reckoning, that guy was a really good player. He's a good eater. He's a good swimmer. Always clumsy, though, and I don't know if he has the cardio for a final against some of these elite players, but hey, I'm happy to see Tony, another guy who defined that 20/early 30s seasons of the show. Tony's a great person to have here. And no surprise, Tori Deal is here. So she's from season 30, Dirty 30, and Are You the One season 4. Tori is coming off a win on Ride or Dies. I think, look, no matter how you feel about Tori, Tori is like one of the top 15, top 10 women to have ever competed on the show. She was just on USA 2 where she made the final again. She's made the final, I think, 4 seasons in a row that she's competed. She's got a rivalry with Cara Maria. She's a top player. I just want to see how she stacks up going against these other top players and whether or not, the accusations of people saying that she was dodged, that production was keeping these strong women off the show so Tori could get a win, are true or not. I don't think they're true, but I would love to see them all go head to head. Tori's a great player, and I don't really know what to say here. because I think people will expect me to hate on Tori, and I'll probably do that during the season. But right now, I'm actually excited to see how she stacks up against these other elite women. Now we move into Generation 4, and kicking us off, we got Horacio Gutierrez from Exathlon. Obviously, Ride or Dies was his rookie season where he was Rookie of the Year, tied the record for most elimination wins in a season, came on Battle for a New Champion, had a show match with Nerice. He's one of the top contenders to win from this new generation. The guy doesn't really like the politics side of the game, but he's just an absolute beast of a competitor. Always good to see Horacio. Next up, this is a great return. Jenny West from Survival of the Fittest UK, apparently was her original show. We saw her debut on War of the Worlds 2, get eliminated by Tori in a Hall Brawl, then come back on Total Madness and absolutely dominate the game. She won a bunch of daily challenges, went up against a very strong female cast, and then destroyed the final. Jenny actually worked in the offseason to improve her puzzle skills. She's not just like a physical beast. She actually cares about the show. She cares about fans, and nobody deserves another season after their win more than Jenny West. Well, actually, maybe Jody and Aviv, who haven't been on in 10, 15 years. But Jenny deserves a comeback, too. She was an alternate on World Championships. Jenny's a beast. Glad to see her on. And, I mean, talk about it. We got Jenny, we got Rachel, we got Jody, we got Tori, we got Cara, we got Laurel, Emily, all these names all going up against each other. Man, someone who's never been to a final ever, Josh Martinez. He's really climbing up the ranks fast. He's going to set the record, I think, at some point for most seasons without a final appearance. Josh is delusional. I mean, he thinks on this StatCast that he has a real shot at winning, but he isn't. He's the goof. I don't mind Josh because he creates reality TV moments that are funny to laugh at, and it's fun to watch him lose. I don't know. That's all my comments on Josh. I'm moving on. Ugh. Casey Clark, big brother. Casey has gone to 3 finals and 4 seasons out of the MTV show. We last saw her on Ride or Dies, where her brother, Kenny, I think really weighed her down and got her eliminated from the game. Other than that, though, Casey has basically went to the final of every season she's competed on. She's got an elite social game. She's got an elite political game. She's awesome in the daily challenges. The problem is, though, is she's super boring. I hope that people target Casey, but even then, though, she went into like 3 or 4 eliminations on World Championships with Troy and Ben, and she won all of those and made it to the final. I will note, Casey is not the best when it comes to long distance running for finals themselves, so maybe she isn't the big threat to win, but she has a great shot of making it to the final itself. It's tough because I do like seeing all the top female competitors go against each other. Like, we have a stacked cast here, but Casey's just so boring. I don't need her on another season. Next up, we got Kellan from Big Brother. We saw him debut on Challenge US A1. Then he went on this most recent season Battle for a New Champion, where he won 4 eliminations. He won 2 eliminations against Mercenaries, absolutely smoking both Drell and Brad. Like, it wasn't even close, either of those eliminations. He's really good with puzzles. He has a true, care for the show. Just a great guy, and he kind of a sleeper threat to win. I don't know if he'll win going against such a stacked cast, but I think I wouldn't rule it out. I think it's not a high chance, but I would say it's at least 1% to 2% chance that Kellan could win this season. He's a great competitor. He's got his friendship with Horacio. He's got his friendship with Nerice. Next up we got Michelle Fitzgerald from Survivor. Obviously, she's known for winning Survivor, and I think Michelle played a phenomenal game on Battle for a New Champion, where she played the game well, socially, politically, and set herself up for a real shot to win. But then she got purged right before the final, and it was unfortunate. And now Michelle has to deal with the fact that a lot of people are upset with the way she played the game last season, are going to be targeting her this time around. She also has enemies in Laurel, in Cara Maria, in Amanda. I don't think Johnny Bananas likes her either. Michelle has a lot of enemies and foes on this cast, and not a lot of friends. I don't think Nerice has her back even. Horacio doesn't like her. It's going to be tough sledding for Michelle on this season. I don't expect her to go far, just plain and simple. And I love Michelle. I actually really like her as a character. I thought she played Battle for a New Champion in a really smart way. But yeah, I'm not liking her shot. Next up, we got Nerice Mateo, the star of Battle for a New Champion. She came in 2nd place overall, was a top finishing female competitor, eliminated both Horacio and Kellan in that mini final exile elimination, then eliminated James and Olivia, then eliminated Mariah. Nerice is a beast of a competitor. She's smart, she's savvy, she's a big personality. She's got her showmance and relationship with Horacio. I like that we're getting Nerice back again on this season. I am sad though because she's going to have the target of being the female champion, and that people are going to want to go gun for her before the final, but she doesn't have the actual title of it. I'm worried for Nerice, like just straight up. It's never good to come in as the reigning champ, and when you didn't actually win, it hurts even more. Next, we got Olivia, and the Olivia Nerice relationship is going to be interesting to watch. We saw Olivia, even in postseason interviews on this channel, be very apologetic and try to make amends with Nerice, and it just didn't work out. Olivia had the opportunity after her betrayal of Horacio Kylo Nerice to play the villain role, and she refused to do so, which is tough because if she had played the villain, I think she really would have been one of the top villains in like the show franchise right now. But because she's not really like a true good guy. She's not a villain either. She's in this real awkward space, and she's a good competitor, but she's not an elite competitor, and she's going up against an elite cast. I just don't know where Olivia stands in this franchise. I probably would have cast some people over her if I was doing the casting, but I don't know. She did make a move that created a lot of ripples in the social media realm. So I get why she's on. She's also buddies with so many people in this cast. Actually, Olivia is friends with so many of the OG veterans that she might have a better shot at going further in this game than Nerice. Paulie Calafiore is back. We saw him on USA 2, where he lost that elimination to Johnny Bananas, but him and Cara are back, and the last time we saw Paulie and Cara on the season together, they were running the game. However, it's a much different atmosphere to the show now. Paulie also wasn't quite the competitor he was back in War of the Worlds era. He's still in great shape. He's still a great player. I hope we get to see more of a villain Paulie because I didn't like the redemption arc Paulie at all. I want some villainry, especially on a season like this where you have such an established force like a CT, like a Bananas, who have like a really easy road to coast if Paulie doesn't try to shake things up. And next up, we got Theo Campbell from Love Island, UK. Last time we saw Theo was on War of the Worlds 2, where he lost to Jordan in elimination. He came in second place to Turbo in War of the Worlds 1. And I really wish Theo would have won that season because I think he was a more dynamic reality TV character. He's also just, I think, a better player overall. I mean, Theo is a 6'5" former pro sprinter. He's good with puzzles. He's just a big dynamic personality that I love. Like he had so many rivalries in his little stint during World of the Worlds 1 and World of the Worlds 2. He obviously had the eye injury that hampered him, but came back on World Championships. Wasn't the most impressive, but still made the final. Then an injury took him out of that final. I like Theo. I like that him and Paulie are going to be back together, kind of maybe mixing things up. He's got some rivalries on this cast. I like Theo here. Overall, though, the cast, it's looking strong. We also got some alternates, apparently. Ruthie and Cyrus were the alternates for Generation 1. Big Easy and Carly from Fresh Meat 2 were the alternates for Generation 2. Jasmine and Jay from X's 2 were the alternates for Gen 3. And then Big T and Fessy are apparently the alternates for Generation 4. Now, this video took way longer than expected, but also we went through 40 names and a lot of names we have not seen on the MTV show in a long time. A lot of names with a lot of history right there, but that should excite you because we got a really good potential season on our hands as long as production doesn't screw it up. Big names, big storylines, big characters, a lot of returns. It's going to be a historic season. I'm glad it's going to be a big one. Hopefully they come up with a good title for it as well. Thank you, everyone. Stay updated on the channel. We're going to be doing All-Star 4 coverage coming up pretty soon. And then down the line, we're going to be talking about this season 40 in a few months, hopefully. So have a great day, everyone. Again, go through the cast if you want to. Stay updated on Vevmo.com. Thank you to Pink Rose. Thank you to Gamer. Have a great day. Stay excited. Stay excited, Challenge fans.